some insecurities you have that are holding you back on YouTube, making you hide, making you scared of some of the biggest advantages you bring to the table. In today's video, let's try working on that. For most of my life, I've been pretty self-conscious about my age. I don't like bringing it up. I feel like people will take me less seriously, will judge me if I bring up my age. It started to get better in the past year or so when I found more of a group of people that think like me, that are like me, that care about the same things. But before that, I've always felt like I don't fit in at all with my age group. The things I like talking about, the things I like thinking about, it's just like never matched. What's wrong with me? I feel extremely misunderstood. I feel really lonely, out of place. Things got a lot more complicated last year when I dated this girl who was 6 to 7 years older than me. We connected in a very special way, but what I didn't know is that she actually also felt a little bit of insecurity and shame about her age, and over time, sort of her perspective about age, about proving yourself, about what's good enough, basically started rubbing off on me, and I absorbed a very negative view of myself and my age. Suddenly, the way I dressed was showing my age. The fact that I lived with roommates was showing my age. The fact that I still went on trips with my family was showing my age, and I didn't know how to deal with that, to filter that out. Wait, should I be feeling self-conscious about these things? Are people judging me for this thing? Is this limiting me? Should I be embarrassed about this side of me? This past month, I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, digging deep into what I bring to the table, how I can be even more myself on this YouTube channel. I remember when I wrote down young adult, an identity I have, something special I bring to the table. It didn't feel special to me at all. It stung. It actually hurt. It felt like I'd found a splinter in my hand that was hurting me, that I actually was terrified of. What is that insecurity for you that you're scared to bring to the table because it freaks you out? The way you look, the way you think, the parts of your story that are super different, you know are special. But for some reason, in that area, you don't feel comfortable being yourself on YouTube. How can we change that? How can we reframe that? 7 years ago, I was working at this camp and this little kid was playing a game and fell on some wooden stairs, and he immediately got the biggest splinter I've ever seen in my life. No joke, it was like this big, covering this whole entire section of his hand. All the other counselors were freaking out. Oh my gosh, how are we gonna get that out? Is this kid okay? That's the biggest, grossest splinter I've ever seen in my entire life. But I was the leader and was like, guys, stop freaking this kid out. It's gonna be okay. Everyone needs to calm down. Seeing that splinter, I knew it was gonna take some time to get out of there. It was probably gonna hurt a little, and so I needed to think creatively about how I was gonna help this kid not freak out. Johnny, so how'd this happen? Oh, you were playing a game? Oh man, the wooden stairs. I'm glad you didn't hit your head. That was pretty fast of you landing on your hand. That was some pretty quick thinking. Have you ever gotten a splinter before? No? Oh, that's awesome. They're actually pretty cool. I used to get them all the time, and it's really fun getting them out and seeing how they work. Is it hurting in your hand right now? Oh, only when you move it? Okay, well, the way a splinter works is there's a little piece of wood stuck in your hand. It's like a little pokey stick that got caught underneath a little bit of your skin. So all we have to do is poke your hand a little and the stick is gonna pop out a little. What's really weird that a lot of people don't know is you can actually poke the outside layer of your skin and it doesn't really hurt at all. See, I'm gonna do it to my finger. See how the little needle is just sort of hanging there? Oh look, it's popping out a little. You see that? That's so cool. All right, let's see how much more we can get. That splinter took like 45 minutes to get out of this kid's hand. It was that big. The whole time I just kept talking, directing his attention, telling him a story, giving him all these different perspectives, angles on the splinter in his hand to make it a lot less scary. Even though it hurt pulling that thing out, even though it was scary, even though it was the biggest splinter I've ever seen in my entire life, I had told him so many stories, pointed out so many different things about the splinter that it actually just stopped being scary. It became a part of his story. In my opinion, it doesn't work well to focus on the splinter. Oh my gosh, look how big it is. I need to get this out right now. It's best to get more angles on this thing. How can we take a step back, put it into perspective? Write that in the middle of your brainstorm, your diagram, and then split the page into 4 sections. In the first corner, I want you to write crazy. In the second corner, I need you to write reasonable. In the third corner, I want you to write irrelevant. And then in the last corner, I want you to write defining. Crazy, reasonable, irrelevant, defining. To rewrite the story, we need to pay attention to all four corners of this diagram, not just one. We're not going with the cut off your hand, pretend it's not there approach. We need to work on getting some angles, seeing the big picture. Does it make sense how bad I feel about my age? Is it a little crazy, unreasonable how self-conscious, ashamed, embarrassed I feel about this thing? When I took a little step back, I was like, yeah, it actually doesn't make any sense at all. No one really brings up my age, or if they bring up my age, it's always in a positive context. 97% of people aren't caring, aren't going out of their way to make me feel bad about that thing, judging me about that thing. So why is it that I feel this bad about this thing? In what ways is it crazy how much you're letting that insecurity freak you out? Feeling like that splinter is going to kill you, is the end of the world. Can you take a step back and see that? Does this really need to be something you're scared to share on YouTube? The second thing I want you to look at though is the other side of the coin. How is this insecurity reasonable? What makes sense about this insecurity? Why it's there? Why this is extra frustrating, scary for you? I do have limitations because of my age. There are experiences I don't have, things I can't understand. I don't know what it's like to be married. I don't know what it's like to have kids. I don't know what it's like to, pay for your mortgage, something like that. There are limitations I have. Sometimes when we have insecurities, we push too far in the other direction. No, that doesn't make sense. No, the splinter isn't there. No, it's not hurting me at all. No, it's not a big deal. It's like, okay, you still have a giant splinter in your hand, right? It's not the end of the world to acknowledge it's in there, that it stings, that it hurts. Don't pretend like there's nothing going on there. Just make sure you're putting it into context. Like from dating that girl, some of the things she said to me, the way she said some things to me, always feeling out of place with my age group, it's very reasonable that age is a sore spot. I actually try to look for more than just what's your damage, what's your trauma, what broke you, what hurt you, because I feel like if I do that for too long, focus on that side of the splinter too much, I feel really helpless. Try finding some positive, some neutral reasons why this sore spot actually makes a lot of sense. For instance, you guys know how passionate I am about thinking about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, understanding that, sharing that, using that to connect, to help other people. I don't just say do random stuff. I put a lot of thought into everything I do, everything I share. So of course it feels violating, upsetting, scary to be dismissed, to be ignored, to be belittled for something that's completely out of my control, where I'm being judged before I even get to say or do anything. There's some ways your insecurity is actually reasonable. There's a way to understand that, acknowledge that, without letting it be the full story. All right, next on the list, irrelevant. We're going back in the other direction. Is this narrative you have about yourself that you've probably been carrying around since you were a teenager? Is it even relevant anymore? Is it worth doubling down on? Are you in a context that lets you be free? I was dating that girl trying to figure out my life and trying to figure out this age gap. In that context and with someone like her, of course age would keep coming up a lot. Of course I was sort of punished a little bit, disincentivized to bring up my age, to feel self-conscious about my age. But now I'm in a completely different place. I'm not dating her anymore. I have so much more clarity, confidence about what I want, what I'm building, what I'm headed towards. So why am I letting that negative stuff from before, from an old context, from an old narrative linger so long? Is that really relevant anymore? My ability to help, succeed, understand, contribute, be insightful, do good work, my character, that has nothing to do with my age. Those are sort of the important things, and that has nothing to do with my age. Real friends, true friends, age isn't the thing they judge people on. They value a whole bunch of other things that are a lot more important. This insecurity you have, this narrative, this context, the weight you're putting behind it, is that really relevant anymore? What if it doesn't need to be so scary anymore? Lastly, defining your superpowers, your strengths. Believe it or not, there's a whole bunch of awesome things you can bring to the table, you can unlock on your YouTube channel because of that identity you're a little scared of. Actually brainstorm a little. Here. young adult. There's perspectives I can bring because I'm a young adult. There's things that are easier for me to understand, relate to, pick up on because of my age. On top of that, these themes of figuring out who you are, defining yourself, figuring out what you bring to the table, doing work you're inspired by. I'm gonna be passionate about those things. Those things are gonna feel very personal, relevant, important to me in a completely different way than if I was like a 70-year-old man who's like, oh yes, you should find yourself, you should do things you like. What can you do because of that identity, because that's a part of your story that other people can't? What amazing ways does that define you, give you some strengths, give you some superpowers, give you some perspectives, insights no one else can have? That insecurity, that identity, it is complicated. It has a lot of different sides to it. In some ways it's crazy, irrelevant. In other ways it's reasonable, defining. To really work with these things in life on YouTube, we need to see the whole story. We need to put it into context so it's not the most scary splinter in the entire world. Insecurities are gonna keep popping up. I'm a human being, that's life. But because I've practiced thinking like this, trying to see the big picture, it's a lot easier for me to move forward on my YouTube channel. Be bold, be free, be open, to actually be me. This is what I want for everyone, for you watching this video. If you've made it this far in this video, done some brainstorming yourself, or in the last video, you guys are so awesome. You guys are willing to put in the work, ask yourself tough questions, step outside of your comfort zone in a way that just blows me away. I'm so thankful for you being a part of this community. You are the change maker of your own life. Let's think more deeply. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace. Bye.